All right, welcome to another edition of Tom's Talk. And we're joined by the head coach of Vanderbilt University, former Sixer, Jerry Stackhouse. And Coach, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've been busy, a bit of an unsettled time, but appreciate the time here. How's it going?
It's going, Tom. It's been hectic, been busy. Even though we've all kind of been quarantined, it's still been a lot more energy trying to get on Zoom calls and recruit, over Zooms and, FaceTime and all those things. But, we're enjoying it, man. We've been able to still, bring in some talented players. So we're just ready to get back, man. It's just, it's long overdue.
What's your spiel? Like Vanderbilt, great school. You play in a fantastic league in the SEC. Yourself, an 18-year NBA player, a staff that's going to help develop your players on and off the court. What do you pitch to these young men that you'd hope to come to Vanderbilt?
Oh, man, I need to hire you, Tom. You just hit it all on the head right there. That's what we do, man. It's just a great opportunity to, get an education that's second to none. First and foremost, that's what Vanderbilt, stands on. An opportunity to play in the SEC, Power 5 conference that has produced as many pros as anybody over, the last 10 years. And then, have access to me and my staff and how we're able to continue your development, and for guys that have aspirations of playing at that next level. Obviously, we understand what that looks like, from myself, as well as other guys that I have on staff. I went and it's kind of a melting pot of talent there. I have Adam Azura, who worked with me in Memphis, who he did all of the draft workouts and really great. And that's what I want. I wanted coaches who could still get on the floor. I still get on the floor with them. And because I can do that, I wanted coaches to still be able to do that, because I think that's where they, get better. You want guys that can recruit and can relate to guys and can call them in real relationships. But once you're here, we want to focus on you. We're not focusing so much on the next guys, but we want to focus on the kids that's here, and knowing that, our staff is built to do that. I got grinders. I got guys that get out there and sweat just like the players. And I think that's when you really see that return on your investment, when you put that sweat equity in and you see the results.
No doubt about it. Tough league, Kentucky. And your school has beaten Kentucky and Tennessee over the years. But, 2 years ago, before you got there, they had not won a league game. Last year, you guys finished strong in the league, having won 3 right there at the end. Your selection process in terms of recruiting, because of the rigors and the academic standards at Vanderbilt, are more difficult. It's a tough challenge, is it not?
Well, I think, some would look at it as a challenge. It's not as easy as going in and walking into the top 100 camp and, okay, like I like him. We have to kind of come around the back end a little bit. We have to, identify guys that we know are good students and are still really good athletes. There's a ton of parents and kids who want this environment and want this type of education, both sides of it. You get the education and the athletics. There's a number of kids. We just got to find them, and I think we've done a good job of finding. It's a little bit tougher early on because we were taking over someone else's roster, and I thought our roster was still pretty good, and then we had hit some injuries and different things like that, and had to kind of readjust on the fly. We lost our best player right in the very first game of conference play, and our starting center probably 5 or 6 games before that. So it's like, okay, my outlook of what I thought this team could be changed kind of mid-season. But to our credit, our guys kept fighting, kept listening, and by the end of the regular season, we were a team that nobody wanted to play. So I think we were doing that pretty much with six scholarship players and 4 or 5 walk-ons. So now that we got a full roster, obviously I'm optimistic and really excited to get back.
Now, as you said, you kind of, as far as recruiting, sometimes have to go at it a little bit differently. And you came about coaching a little bit differently. And, you started watching your son play AAU. Mm-hmm. You felt like, wow, this is a little bit loose. So we're going to get into how it all evolved to how you ended up in Nashville with Vanderbilt. But did you ever see before that even developed? Did you think you would be post basketball player, a coach?
Well, I mean, if you look at the kind of the track records for the guys that that played for Dean Smith, quite a few of them went into the coaching ranks. I didn't think I was going to be one of them, but I just think as a player, I always gravitated toward trying to help the younger players. Especially during my time in Detroit and Dallas, I just took on that the elder statesman role with the teams a lot because I didn't have that when I got drafted by the Sixers. I had guys that almost some they wanted to allow you to make a mistake because they felt like it would be another opportunity for them. What I'm saying? The only guy that really came and took me under their wings and showed me how to chase off screens and be a shooter. Like I played power forward in college and pretty much up until that point I got drafted as a shooting guard, but I've never been a shooting guard in my life. So I needed someone to take me on the wings. And to my credit, Vernon Maxwell was the guy. He just saw me getting killed off the screens, and he was like, come here, come here, pimp, come here, I got something for you. And like, you got to put your hand on his outside hip, and then from that on, I was good. I didn't have any problems chasing off screens. So it's just, guys that watched me run into those screens time and time again, like, okay, if he keep messing up, then that'll be my opportunity. It's unfortunate when you see guys, veterans that have been around that, and I just said I was never going to be that guy. So whenever I had an opportunity, no matter if they drafted them or it was a free agent, I was going to make sure that I put my arms around those guys, Jermaine Jacksons, all those guys that Team Cleese. You guys are staying over in my house. Make sure that you're not late for practice as rookies, and so I think that started early on, even before I felt like I was ever going to be a coach. But I just think that it's kind of something that's an innate type of quality that you just want to help.
You spent 2 years in Chapel Hill and played for the legendary Dean Smith, Blue Heaven, as we call it. You were thinking about possibly playing at Duke and Durham, but the Carolina way and playing for Coach Smith, what was that like? That must have shaped you even today as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, I pattern a lot of what I do and who we are and our foundation on the same foundation that I learned under Coach Smith. I felt like it worked pretty good for me, that it should work for other guys that are aspiring to, play at that next level and do things. But it was a challenge, early on, because it was like you come in as this highly touted, high school player, and then you come into a team where they just won a national championship. I was really coming to North Carolina because they hadn't won a championship since Michael Jordan was there, and I wanted to be the guy to help get them over the hump. And lo and behold, that spring they win the championship. So it's like it kind of took a little bit of my oomph out of going there, but still the prospect of playing under Dean Smith, learning him, seeing the track record of the guys that have come through there. I stayed with my commitment. And, and it was there. And again, as you got these hot shot freshmen with myself, Rasheed, and Jeff McInnes. Now we're coming into a team that just won a national championship, and, we're going at them every day. And so it was, because I had some tough conversations where I was knocking on Coach Smith's door, like, I feel like I should be playing more here. I'm putting up, these type of numbers. I'm averaging 13 points in 18 minutes. So imagine if I was playing 28 minutes or 30, and and Coach Smith at the time told me, well, I need you to focus on, trying to, with Brian Reese, who's a senior, you guys need to try to be the best small forward in the country together. As an 18-year-old, what is my reaction? I feel like I can be the best small forward in the country by myself. I don't need to do it with Brian Reese. But it's just understanding that you have to sacrifice, and that was a challenge somewhat that freshman year. I was like probably typical freshman. Probably every other week, 1 week I'm happy, one other week I'm ready to transfer. So but again, I always tell the story. My mom, I was again, it had kind of just boiled over. Like I was come back to the dorm and I was talking and telling her that I just felt like I could be doing more and doing this, and she heard me out, listened to my whole spiel, and just kindly told me, if you start running now, you're going to be running for the rest of your life. And it was just something that dawned on me, and I stuck it out, and I'm so glad that I stuck it out. 2 weeks later, I'm the most valuable player of the ACC tournament, and pretty much the rest is history. So
Right. And you guys made it to the Final Four, right? In Seattle
Yeah, we
that
made it
year?
to the Final Four that
Lost to
my
Arkansas.
sophomore season. You know, Rashid had got hurt. I got a deep thigh bruise right at the first play of the game. I go back and watch that game, and still, it's like, man, you know, how did this happen on the very first jump ball? You know, Corliss Williams gives me a knee to the thigh, so I'm playing pretty much on one leg. You know,
Right.
that
Called the
game. And
Big Nasty.
hey, man, and we still had the big nasty. So it was,
Yeah.
but yeah, we had a really good team, man, a really good run. You know, at the end of that Final Four run, made a decision to leave. Talked it over with Coach Smith and my mom, and felt like it was the best thing for me to leave after my sophomore year. Got drafted by Philadelphia, and you know, was there for a number of years. Obviously, we weren't good teams, weren't playoff teams, so I was able to go back and finish up school and all those things, promises that I made to Coach Smith and my mom. And
Right.
I'm so glad that I did that, you know, because now I wouldn't, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have the opportunity to do what I'm doing now, and that's, you know, coaching at the collegiate level.
Right. Such a great thing to finish your education. And then you come to Philadelphia, as you say, you were the number 3 pick. That was my first year as well. That was a big deal. I mean, you came with a lot of acclaim and a lot of excitement. What was that like, first of all, to be drafted and then come to Philadelphia, an iconic NBA franchise?
It was really like just a blur, you know, from the high school until getting to Philadelphia was really like a blur. Felt like the 2 years in North Carolina went extremely fast, you know, getting drafted. And, you know, there's you know, unbeknownst to me, I'm just gung-ho and excited about, you know, being in the NBA, being in Philadelphia. I mean, not knowing that the team's for sale, you know, and, you know, his new ownership was about to come in, and the guys
Right.
that drafted me just a year before weren't going to be the decision makers going forward. And, you know, so it was, you know, had a, you know, rough year. We won, you know, 18 games, played with about 40 people that year. Something crazy. I think that might still be a record. The number of
Right.
people that Lukey ran in and out of there. Everybody that had, you know, been in the center, he brought them in for a 10-day. So it was, it became a little comical there at the end, but it was what it is. I mean, you know, at the time, and then the next year, you know, they draft Allen. You know, in my mind, knowing that, I mean, I competed against Allen and knew the type of dynamic scorer that he was, as well as myself, that I in my mind, I felt like the best fit for our team and where we were had was Stephon Marbury. I was thinking Marbury was like, man, I got a pass first point guard. And that didn't happen. You know, obviously, you know, Allen Iverson has done great things. He's an icon in Philadelphia, but it wasn't the best fit for me and my game, you know, as a guy who needed the ball. You know, I mean, it was so many times I felt like we were on the 2-on-1 break, and I'm sitting there, I almost got the ball in my hand, and it was a pump fake and a score, because that's what, you know, natural scorers do. So, you know, but you know, but I think it was the best thing for me to eventually get to Detroit, and I was able to spread my wings and show that I was still, you know, all-star talent, even though I said I never played shooting guard before in my life, but I was able to continue to work and develop myself to become an all-star at this level, and, you know, carve out a pretty long career, you know, in doing something that I truly love.
You had a 58-point game, I believe it was, with the Pistons against Chicago one game.
57, yeah, 50 Hines 57. That's what. But no, I had it going that night. You know, quite a few guys was getting 50 points that year, and I had a number of 40-point games, but I just never eclipsed the 50-point. And then it was just like everything was clicking. I came out and, you know, made a couple shots in close, and then a few threes fall, and next thing you know, everything I threw up was going in. So and like I said, I kind of got tired, because when I look back at the game and I look at some of the shots that I did miss, I was like, man, honestly, I probably should have had 75 this game. You know, and people like, you crazy. You had almost 60 points, and you saying like, no, I'm telling you, this right here, if I'd have made this shot, to make it 75, Tom. I should have had 7.
Now, Stack, I was going to bring this up at the end, and this is how absurd it is, and I'm bringing it up now after you said you scored 57 in the game. But when you seamed up the ball, most guys, your middle finger is right in the middle, but you seamed up the ball with your index finger in the middle. And the reason I jokingly bring it up is we had a preseason game your second year. Johnny Davis was our coach. We were in Anaheim. I believe we might have played the Clippers. And I just was questioning you. I wasn't working on your grip or anything, but I remember I waited for Johnny Davis to leave and get on the bus. And then you and I sat on the bench. I don't expect you to remember this. We sat on the bench. I'm like, Stack, show me that. And of course, here comes Johnny Davis back into the gym. He sees us talking. He's like, "You're not coaching my guys, are you?" But you seen the ball up differently, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably changed it up since then too. I mean, again, I was like when that was our first year, or that was my second year with Johnny Davis.
Right.
You know, it's just like, man, I was still working out the kinks. You know, working out. I mean, I wish I'd have had all of the what I know now as far as shooting the ball. If I've been able to get some of the things that I've been able to give to young guys, you know, I think I would have become more of a. And Coach Smith told me, he was like, you know, the way the ball released, you just got to get more reps, and you become a pure shooter. And I did. I become a pure shooter. But it was just I had to continue to get those reps, and I kind of like it was always nice, like those two fingers put there, and boom, right in there. Put those two fingers right in the middle of the rim as you follow through. And now it was just you add little subtle things like rubbing my rib, so that way it forces my elbow in instead of out. You know, little stuff like that, just a little subtle thing. It's not much, just a little rub to know that I touched my rib, that my elbow was in. And then, you know, just staying in my circle, little pointers that over time and reps, you can really improve your shooting. So.
You mentioned your career and you moved on to different spots, including a big chunk of time, as you say, in Dallas. And then when you were an assistant in Memphis and Toronto, I remember sitting with you on the bench, and like, you played, and this was part of your message to those players in those franchises, and I want to get into your G League time too, but where you played every position. You were the top scorer. You were an all-star. Toward the end of your career, you were a reserve. You were the leader. And that helped form really what you could bring to the table as an assistant coach, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you understand every seat. You know, you understand the seat of the star player. You understand the seat of guys that have been star players, and now you need them to transition to, you know, coming off the bench, or even to, you know, in my very last year where I wasn't even, you know, I played, but that wasn't the thought coming in. It was just to kind of be a locker room guy, mentor the guys, making sure, you know, we need you here and there, something cool. And then I wound up playing a ton. But I think that was just, you know, being able to work, you know, sit in all those seats. It helps me get into the psyche of the kids that I have now. You know, it's like there's nothing that you're going to go through or that you're going to deal with that I haven't gone through. And like I said, you just got to continue to work and got to continue to, you know, I mean, I don't think, I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't think that there's any coach that wants to lose. And he's going to try to put out there the players that's going to help him win and have success. And I think that's what our guys understand, that the guys that I play with, and, you know, we got to be a defensive team first. I mean, for someone that scored as many points that I have, you know, the thing is that I'm a really defensive-minded coach when it comes to it, because I understood things that I didn't like to see. So I pretty much built my, you know, philosophy of defense of things that as a primary scorer, things that I didn't want to look at. And then so just over time, man, learning and being able to be around other great coaches, you know, with Coach Casey in Toronto, give me that opportunity to come in and be an assistant on his staff. 1 year from that, then I was able to go to the G League, asked me to coach the G League team, and we win a championship the first year. We go back to the finals the second year. So, you know, people started to take notice. Oh, this, Stack might know what he's doing a little bit, you know, and I think it really helped me to take a couple steps backwards. You know, a lot of guys like, man, why are you going down to the G League? You know, you're already behind the bench on the NBA team. Next step, but, you know, I went from taking a step back to taking 2 steps forward. You know, I'm already getting interviews for head coaching jobs, you know, and then I was up for the Toronto job. They gave it to Nick, and, you know, rightfully so. I mean, Nick did a great job, had a great rapport with Masai, things that I didn't know, you know, even until after the fact when I'm in an interview that, you know, Masai played for Nick Nurse in England. Right. You know, I wasn't getting that job, you know what I'm saying? So, but it was cool to go through that process I interviewed with the Knicks, and and then from that I just felt like, okay, it'd be a little awkward still being in the organization, knowing that I was up for the head job, and the other guy got it. So I took an assistant job in Memphis, worked with JB Bickerstaff, who was great to work with. Gave me a ton of responsibility. It was almost like because he understood it. He understood my dynamic. I had been a head coach for 2 years, so it was hard to make that adjustment to going back into an assistant role, because now you're the suggestion guy. You're not the final decision maker. You're the guy that have to make the suggestions. And quite frankly, when the opportunity came for me to Vanderbilt came calling, Malcolm Turner, who got hired as an AD. He saw me work firsthand in the G League, and he's like, man, I watched this guy develop talent, and sometimes we're doing it with sometimes more with less, and that might be our model here at Vanderbilt. Where okay, we may not get the 5 stars, we might get the 4 stars or 3 stars because of the academic piece. So I need someone here to develop, and it just was a great timing, man. And I had to take it again, because I wanted to, it's like a fix. You got to get back. You got that bug. Once you've been making those decisions, then all of a sudden I wanted to get back to making those decisions. So when they called me about this job, sat down with Candace Lee, who's the AD now. Malcolm stepped down, but we just have a great rapport. We got a great outlook on where we want to go. I think the university is one of the most progressive in the country. I mean, to have a female African American AD, and 2 African American head coaches in football and basketball, you don't find that. Especially in this climate that we're in right now, where so much is about social injustice, and and they've been at the forefront. There were teams talking about taking down civil rights monuments and stuff. They've already done that. So I feel like I'm at a great place, a great progressive place to really help make a change.
That's awesome. Stack, speaking of that G League experience, and Elton Brand is now our general manager, and he did that in terms of working with the G League entity in Delaware. And again, I go all the way back to the CBA, but you're on the road, not just in the games, but you're on the road. You're making you're making the call. You make so many decisions with the roster. I mean, just that right there is what you're kind of talking about, not just the X's and O's and the in-game stuff, but pretty much all across the board, the travel, everything.
Yeah, man. I have to give, Masai, a ton of credit, man. He entrusted a lot of me, to be able to just like hand that team to me, and Dan Tozman, who it was really great to work with. He's I think he's the general manager or assistant general manager now. He moved up from the 905, but he was just great to work with. We had a great rapport. We talked about the pieces that I needed, or we talked. I think I'm good right now. I don't. We want to make a trade. Somebody, an agent called him. And got a guy like, no, I like our team right now. These guys have been working hard, and he listened. So I think that's that's great to have a rapport with someone like that. But we just were every hat. Whether it was just scheduling,
right?
If it's dealing with the medical staff, it's dealing with the training staff. Managing your coaches, managing your assistants, managing different issues that come up as players. You're able to do that. So I think being guys ask me about, what do you think about the G League? I was like, you get an opportunity to go to the G League, go. Go. Right. You learn so much. I mean, that you would never have that much responsibility in any role, I think, on the NBA team, where you have to understand so many other, but it would definitely help you understand other people's jobs and different things that they need to do if, once you make it to an NBA staff or roster.
The landscape of college basketball in general, just with the COVID-19 and everything up in the air, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, come October, November. But no doubt you'll be watching a former NBA player for 18 years, be watching the NBA when they go down to Orlando to see how that plays out in the bubble, so to speak, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited about it, because I hope everything works out. It's just so many variables that are going to be thrown into it this time. Like, like just imagine, let's say the Lakers make it to the finals, and not to put anything on LeBron James, but he gets test positive. He's out of the finals. So I mean, there's so many. I think this is with the teams that they've added. You don't know who's been really focusing and working out, who's going to be a little bit behind. So I mean, it's a great opportunity for a team that's not really on the radar to come in and steal a world championship. Maybe it's not going to be an asterisk by it. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to play the game, and at the end of the day, whoever wins it wins it. So I think that makes it makes up for a lot of excitement, and I'm definitely looking forward to. Obviously, Brandon Ingram is a kid that I've had since he was like 7th, 8th grade, and they got a really exciting young team there in New Orleans. So I'm excited to see him and Zion and Zoe. I mean, that's my team now. The Pelicans.
Yeah, BI, the pride of Kinston, North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is we'll wrap up with a 3 kind of hot takes, smorgasbord kind of things.
Okay.
You can respond or whatever, but I have, like they say, I have a good memory, at least for now. It's probably going to escape me at some time soon, but I don't forget a lot. I remember when your deal was with Fila, right? And you signed that as a rookie right when your season was starting. So you and I are standing there in the gym in St. Joe's in the corner, and I don't know, practice. It might have been media day, but you had your whole Fila gear on. And I had Nike stuff on. It just happened to be like shoes, sweat. Mine probably came from TJ Maxx or Ross. And you go, what? You got a deal? You got a Nike deal? I'm like, no. They don't give the radio guy Nike. And the other one was,
I'm giving you props. I'm giving you props, Tom.
Yeah, I got a Nike deal. Knockoff Nike deal. But the other one was Luke. John Lucas was a character, very charismatic. He was also the general manager. So sometimes Luke, when you remember this too, he would practice, right? And Luke would come over to me after he's like, I was the best guard out there. I'm like, right, but you're the general manager too. That's great. You took Trevor Ruffin off the dribble, but right? I mean, Luke would be out there.
Yeah, man. Competitors are competitors, man. Luke, he was get out there, and because he could pass that thing, and him and Mo Cheeks both, they get out there, and even though they might not could run long, but when the minutes that they ran, they showed why they were great.
Right. And I won't bring up the Kobe thing. I know you played him, and I heard you talk to Woj. He didn't win every game, but it was amazing. Oh, by the way, nothing really to be ashamed of. Kobe turned out to be a pretty terrific player, but he was around a lot. Player.
Yeah, it was, man. I mean, I have no problem speaking on that because, I mean, again, it's a tragic loss for all of us. I mean, we saw his career and saw what he was able to do. But it's just like, when you start talking about things like that, people, lore grows, and it's cool. I'm cool with letting the lore grow because of who he is and because of his family. But, at the end of the day, Jerry Stackhouse, if you know him, he got a lot of pride, and I ain't gonna change that for anybody.
The other thing was Luke. I can still see this in the locker room at St. Joe's. This is before there were like energy drinks, like a dime a dozen. But Luke had his the ginseng.
Sawuchi and all of the ginseng, the Sawuchi. I mean, Luke had so much of that stuff, man.
Wasn't that funny though? I'm like, I don't. You think Jerry Sloan's making this for Karl Malone right now? I don't think so.
Oh man, it was unbelievable watching that stuff, man. I guess I had my massage therapist used to come down, and she used to give me some little ginseng and stuff to take, little ginseng root and stuff. I mean, I was like, oh man, I can't believe Luke is drinking this stuff every day. It tastes nasty and bitter and everything, but for whatever, it worked for him.
Your brother, Tony Dawson, when I was in Florida, I saw his career at Gulf Coast Community College and then Florida State. And then when he would come around with you at the building, we always had a smile and a great remembrance. But he was a terrific basketball player.
Man, Tony, that's where, because I tell everybody, they feel like how you were a scorer. I was like, man, you ain't seen my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, when you talking about could really score the basketball, and then he had an unbelievable story, man. Tony was hit by a car 3 times. I mean, like, who gets hit by a car once? But he got hit by a car 3 times. His foot was hanging off, had to have his, surgery, remove the bone from his hip to go on his foot. And he still managed to play professional basketball. Had a couple 10 days with Sacramento and Boston, but played overseas for like 13 to 14 years, man. So he's definitely a inspiration for me. Always been a big, one of my biggest supporters, and the guy that I probably looked up to more than anybody else. You know, people would say, you know, who's you, Michael Jordan, you know, Dr. J, all those was cool, but Tony Dawson was it for me. You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those, you know, big brother things. And, you know, just one of the most disappointing moments in my life was when he didn't get drafted, because I thought he put himself in a great position. They was talking about him being a late first round, you know, early second round, and we're watching the draft. And, you know, and the crazy thing about it, the last name in the draft was like, you know, Tony, and we were all like, and it was like Brown, you know what I'm saying? So it's like such a disappointing moment, but that fueled me. I mean, that really, you know, that made me really focus in and know that I'm going to get drafted. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to work my butt off, because that disappointment that I saw in his face, and disappointment that our family had that night from him not being drafted, was great motivation and fuel for me. And you know, got me to the third pick, so it worked out pretty good.
Right. Well, Jerry, we wish you the best. I'm just so happy for you. What a job. You must be really stoked to get ready for another full year. I know it's going to be different, as we stated, but to get back with the Commodores and get after it with your second season down there in Vanderbilt.
I really am, man. Tom, you know, if you get any time, you want to come spend a little time down in Nashville, you know, I'd be happy to host you, brother.
Well, that's good, because my daughter has an interest in Vanderbilt.
Okay. All right. Come on through. All
right. Coach, thank you so much. Best of luck. We appreciate the time.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Stan.